It's Thanksgiving and you are in charge of potatoes. So we're gonna make potatoes au gratin. It's super easy, it's fast, and I'm gonna show you how to not f it up. People are gonna take one bite of this and they're gonna think you're a god. Wow. Today we're making a sage potato gratin with crispy speck. Feel free to substitute some prosciutto. And for the cheese, you would typically use something like a Gruyère or even a Fontina. But we're gonna enhance the flavor with one of my favorite cheeses, Pecorino. But first, before we get all of that started, we wanna build some flavor. We're gonna make a garlic confit. Start by taking your peeled garlic and drop them into a little baking dish with a couple bay leaves and some thyme. Take your favorite olive oil and fill it up until the garlic is completely submerged. And make sure you're using a dish that gives you about 3 inches of headroom above the oil. You don't want it to boil over. So to the saucepan, add 2 cups of cream, 1 cup of whole milk, a couple bay leaves, a few cloves of that beautiful garlic confit we just made, a pinch of nutmeg, a little bit of salt, and a few grinds of pepper. We're gonna let that come up to steam and then cut the heat and allow those flavors to really infuse into the cream. So while that cream is infusing for about 10 to 12 minutes, we're gonna make some crispy sage and some sage butter. First, we're gonna melt down that butter and fry these sage leaves until they're nice and crispy. And what you're looking for is to melt this down without browning the butter. We just wanna use it to crisp up the sage, and the beautiful byproduct of that is this sage infused butter. So melt that down about medium-low heat. Once it's melted, you turn the heat up a little bit, closer to medium, and start laying those sage leaves in. Those are gonna crisp up rather quickly. About 30 to 40 seconds frying like that, and they're ready to pull. Right to a paper towel lined baking sheet. You can reserve your sage and your butter separately for your next step. As that speck is crisping up, let's peel and thinly slice our potatoes. I love this potato peeler as opposed to this one, which you would typically see in your home kitchen, because this is so much easier to hold. They're also way cheaper. They come in 2 or 3 packs. It's like 10 bucks. These, crap. Let's slice them in half so we can cut them on the mandoline. When using a mandoline, just be incredibly careful or use one of those nifty little guards that they sell. It's insanely sharp. Nice and thin, about 1/8 of an inch. We are ready to assemble. First things first, let's brush this dish with some of that reserved sage butter. This is gonna help us get some nice color and caramelization around the edges here. Now we're gonna place a layer of our potatoes, just ever so slightly overlapping. So you wanna do about 1/3 of your potatoes into this dish. And we're gonna follow it up with a couple layers of that pecorino and Gruyere. Now that we have about 1/3 of our potatoes thinly sliced, layered throughout this baking dish, we're gonna grate some of this Gruyere and Pecorino over the top, and then repeat that process 2 more times. People ask me, Ross, is there ever too much cheese? No, there's never too much cheese. Just keep going. Now another layer of our mandoline potatoes right on top. And by alternating potato, cheese, we're gonna create layers of flavor inside this gratin. You want people at your Thanksgiving dinner to say, oh, that's a great gratin. Not, there's not enough cheese in my gratin. My arm is exhausted. It's time for, hopefully, our last layer of potatoes. I promise you, when you get invited to a Thanksgiving dinner and you bring this thing, people are gonna love you. They're gonna thank you. You're gonna go home feeling good about yourself, not crying yourself to sleep like normal. Now we're gonna pour in this infused cream right over the potatoes. Now we're just gonna take our fingers and press this down a little, submerge it. You might be saying that's a lot of cream. That is a lot of cream. We'll see what happens. This is the final stride here. I'm gonna finish this with a nice grating pecorino on top. It'll crisp up and get some nice color, add some great texture. We're finished with the cheese. It's time to get this into the oven. 375 for about 40 minutes. This has been cooking for about 40 minutes. Let's take a look. That looks beautiful. All the cheese is nicely melted. Now that we've removed that foil, we can pop it back into the oven for another 25 minutes and really let that cheese caramelize and crisp up on top. So this just came out of the oven. I hope you can hear that sizzle. Just look at this thing bubble. Now I'm gonna let this cool slightly before I add the crispy speck and sage leaves on top, because I don't want them getting all soggy. We want that nice, crisp texture we worked so hard for. This thing has been cooling for about 15 minutes and it is time to finish it. We're gonna take some of this crispy speck, let those pieces shatter. Now it's time to top this thing. Now onto our crispy sage. So this dish has so many layers of flavors in it. We've got that sage infused cream, our crispy speck and sage leaves on top, the Gruyère, our Pecorino. This is the holiday dish that everybody will be craving. I think it's time to take a bite. Wow. There's so much beautiful flavor in there. That infused cream has saturated all of these potatoes with amazing flavor. And that umami from the Gruyère and the Pecorino, to die for. And while this dish may take 90 minutes to cook, you're only spending about 30 minutes pulling it all together. So you can spend your time on everything else. I really hope you try making this at home. And as always, you can find the link to the recipe in the description below.